Hey Tony, it's Friday. And first off, to answer your question of the week, when I'm home alone, I don't do anything different than if I had people around. I read, I look at the news, I watch TV, and I play video games. That's
Wait, you're ever home alone?
occasionally. But that's basically what I do. So nothing really changes in my life whether I'm with people or not around people.
Technically, you're never alone in this household because we have three cats and three guinea pigs.
Yes, we have plenty of pets.
So,
And I give the pets plenty of pets.
tripod begs to differ.
Tripod always wants pets. Like, Tripod can never have enough pets.
Tripod has told me recently that she hasn't had attention.
Thank you, Peanut Gallery.
You're welcome.
So, Tony, what I want to talk about this week is still in my general realm of social thought and politics, but I'm going on a bit of a different aspect on this, and that is separating the art from the artist, which is really hard to do, and I find it very difficult for myself to separate the two now, because being an artist, your art itself is always going to be at least a part of you, and it's I find it increasingly difficult to separate, and that's not particularly healthy. So the reason why I'm thinking about this is because there is a musician named Garth Brooks. He's a big country musician.
If you start dissing Garth Brooks,
I'm not dissing Garth Brooks at all.
he's the Southern Idol of country.
Wow. Okay, anyway, continue
Cool.
on.
Cool. Cool. I don't care. The reason why I'm discussing this is because there was a large post that was going on Facebook in which Garth Brooks was in Detroit wearing a Barry Sanders jersey. Now, it's actually kind of a cool little side story as to why he did it. So, I know you have no idea who I'm talking about, Tony. Barry Sanders is arguably the best football player to ever play for the Detroit Lions. He was a stud running back. He's in the Hall of Fame. And what's really interesting is Garth Brooks was actually good friends with Barry Sanders when they were in school together, which is just kind of cool. And he wore a Barry Sanders jersey to a concert, but the internet interneted.
The internet's stupid.
They saw Sanders, and Barry Sanders' jersey number was 20. So they saw Sanders 20, and so a whole bunch of trumpeters are basically just like, "Oh, you're supporting Bernie Sanders? I hate your music now. I hate you. Go away. I never want to hear you again." And it was like a whole thread until someone was like, he was wearing a jersey for a football player from Detroit because he was playing a concert in Detroit. And it got me thinking on how difficult it is to separate the art from the artist. I think of J.K. Rowling also. Now, J.K. Rowling created one of my favorite fictional universes. And I was a real fan of hers because she was a real strong feminist icon. But recently she started opening her mouth, and she turned out to be a trans-exclusionary radical feminist, in which she doesn't believe trans people should exist or should have rights. And that was really hard for me because I have many of my close friends are trans.
Hi.
And that was really hard for me to see because this was someone who I had a lot of respect for, whose story I greatly respected, whose characters were fantastic and were a huge part of my life. But when she started talking about like a trans exclusionary policies, it made it so her art for me was changed. I didn't enjoy it as much. And I see it also as well with countless other authors and countless other artists. To go for a more old school example, let's talk about H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft is the father of weird fiction. His writings have been really important to the development of science fiction and to popular culture as a whole. Like, almost everyone knows who Cthulhu is, and that's because H.P. Lovecraft created such a masterful series of stories. But when you actually start looking into H.P. Lovecraft, you see that he was not a good person. He was exceptionally racist. Much of the language that he used in his writings on African Americans is extremely racist, and it's almost disturbing, and modern day readers have a real problem with that, myself included. And you see countless other examples of artists who were important to their aspect, but all have these extra shadows above them. You can even think of Harvey Weinstein, an absolutely despicable human being who was one of the most important people in Hollywood for the past 30 years. Made many fantastic movies, produced fantastic universes, but he himself was a terrible person. Bill Cosby in the same way. And it becomes really challenging to separate them. Like, I don't think I can ever watch Bill Cosby again because of who he is as a person. A lot of Harvey Weinstein films that he produced, I don't feel I can watch again because it feels like I'm supporting this person's views that are just absolutely despicable, or this person's actions who are just horrific. And it's something that I think it's almost a weakness, because there should be a point where you separate the art from the artist, and everyone is entitled to viewpoints. Everyone is entitled to being themselves. Now, you can judge them for their beliefs and what they do compared to what you believe, but in the end, you can't just blanket say anything about people, because people are complex, and it's becoming just harder and harder by the day to separate the people from what they do. And I don't have an answer on how to solve that. I can't just ignore a lot of the underlying racial undertones in H.P. Lovecraft stories, much like I can't deny the fact that Harvey Weinstein was a terrible human being, even if a lot of his movies were fantastic and pop culture milestones. And it's hard, especially in our day and age. We live in very complicated times with very complicated people. And it's becoming harder and harder by the day to separate people from what they do and who they are and everything. And I think that's kind of sad. But Tony, my question for you is, what artists that you knew and you enjoyed when you were younger have come out to be have a lot of disappointing viewpoints or disappointing actions that have changed your opinion on them? Tony, I'll see you on Wednesday. Later, bro.